Hey there, and welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming Podcast. It is great to have you join us. This podcast series features those who have gained victory over a life encounter. With that life experience, we encourage those who are experiencing something that might seem to be insurmountable. We advance and encourage others by passing forward evaluated life experiences. We have three objectives in this podcast series. We want to encourage those who are engaged in any type of life encounter by offering to walk with you to help you gain victory over anything that might seem impossible. We want to share our experience to help you. Our second objective is to help you develop a confident resolve that there are multiple options to get past any life obstacle. It's a matter of thinking into the situation. Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you are facing a dilemma resulting from a previous decision you wish you could reverse, we want to help you think into all of the facts and factors involved in making an informed decision. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business manager, Marty. Together, we are the Cooper Culture Company who is sponsoring this podcast series. Today, we feature Dr. Lance Knaub, who discusses with us physical and mental health. Marty has a great mix discussion of how the two interrelate. He describes having a very poor physical health, which resulted in him starting a business, and he acknowledges he did not have much business savvy at all. But he and his wife together are neurotherapists in dealing with the brain activity, mental health, and aspects associated with human behavior. Marty, what are some takeaways our listeners can gain from this?
Ron, this was a very interesting and informative podcast. He talked about depression. Research has shown when we are in a state of depression, helping others and physical exercise, even if it's only 5 minutes throughout the day, will help a person obtain happiness and soon relieve their depression, improve a mindset, and physically feel much better about themselves.
Marty, he goes further to talk about, you may say simple but not easy, solutions to being happy. Let's listen and learn together. Dr. Knaub, great to have you with us. Our listeners are going to be very interested in some of your background, just what you've been through to get to where you are, a neuroscientist who has come through some life experience. But perhaps you can give our listeners, Dr. Lance, just a little bit of your background, not to focus on that, but just a brief overview of what you've gone through with maybe an emphasis on neurotherapy, neuroscience, the brain, and I just have a sense that there are some of our listeners who need to know more about, let's just call it a very general term, mental health. But Dr. Lance, great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here and talk about all these relevant things. My background is as a doctor of physical therapy. My wife, Jody, is also a doctor of physical therapy. So we met in physical therapy school. So I guess a high-level view of myself is as a husband and a father of three great children, got a 9th grader, a 7th grader, and a 5th grader. And to really kind of dive right into, what you mentioned with neuroscience and life's mountain that is important for me to share my story and message and pay it all forward. My wife and I did not have any business background or experience, no formal training. However, we were very passionate about physical therapy. And in 2004, we took our wedding money right after we were married in May, and we started our first practice with extremely humble beginnings, 300 square feet, the average size of a American bedroom. And we started up with under $2,000 of startup costs. I mean, we literally walked next door to the Murphy's grocery store to make copies of people's insurance cards rather than immediately outlay that money for a photocopier and a fax machine. So very humble beginnings. We were passionate about uniquely bringing physical therapy and fitness together, which really is in the best interest of the world and clients and just people that we serve. Right. So fast forward a little bit. In 2011, we have 3 offices, about 30 employees. Things are going well. However, we just had our 3rd child. So we had 3 children under the age of 4. And I'm not developed enough personally and professionally, and not, applying the kind of lifestyle that I knew was important as a doctor of physical therapy and as a certified personal trainer and the owner of that kind of business. So I was abusing my body, not sleeping enough, working 80 plus hours a week, and, not exercising enough. And my body revolted. It had finally had enough. And my digestive system, my gastrointestinal system stopped working, and I could not eat. And embarrassingly, I had to run to the bathroom at a moment's notice, and I could not treat patients. I couldn't lead our team. And I can remember that July of 2011, standing in front of an all-team meeting in our headquarters office in Medford, New Jersey, with no energy and just aching muscles and bones, just trying to have enough energy to stand there. And I can remember the looks on our team's faces, right down to the summer interns, and trying to lead them. And it was a low point. And fortunately, burning out and pushing my body to the limits. Fortunately, my health problem was only temporary. It wasn't anything permanent. I had to go see, get an endoscopy and see GI doctors and specialists. And I was able to get myself on my feet, develop myself personally, develop myself better professionally with business fundamentals, and weave in these mental and physical health, lifestyle changes to do that. And yeah, that's really what I want to pay forward to help other entrepreneurs stay healthy while they're scaling their businesses and creating the life of their dreams.
Thank you for being that vulnerable about your background. I can imagine you had to go through maybe 2 very difficult decisions in your life. One was physical, like I cannot keep doing what I've been doing because I'm going downhill, so to speak. But the other is mental. In the term fitness, Marty and I think of that in 2 ways, at least 2 ways. There's the physical fitness, which is somewhat known, but the mental fitness, the mental health is, from our perspective, is sometimes a little bit lesser known. And I'm curious how you brought those 2 together. It seems, and I'm just trying to project what you may have gone through.
Yeah, no, I think you really are onto the core point, the crux of it, really. So in 2018, I tried to put all of my best life and business experiences into a process, and that I organized into a book called The 4% Breakthrough. I'm working on sharing this message even on a TEDx talk. And it's interesting, when I talk to some of my colleagues who are working on their message to share with the world, other TEDx speakers, when I summarize it, they understand it best when I say that I'm combining mental and physical health while weaving in actionable lifestyle changes. So I think this mental and physical coming together, combined with the basics in lifestyle, right? We actually learned 90+% of our lifestyle determines our age and our quality of life, our lifespan and our quality of life. The best research showed for years it's been like 75 to 80%. So some of the newer research is even showing it might be 90+%. So we can't blame anyone else, our parents, our genetics. It's up to us. So I really think you're on to the right words with this mental and physical combination.
I think one of the things you're saying is accountability. We must be accountable to our decisions, our actions. We cannot continue doing what we've done in the past and expect different results. We have to be aware of ourselves. Those are all the things that I think of. But Dr. Lance, I'm very curious about the mental part of this. There are a lot of people who are going through various stresses in life. There are some who mentally cannot cope with. Marty and I are very, very concerned about suicidal thoughts, those kinds of things. There's some people who feel that, well, life is not worth living anymore. I don't have any value. There's something in that seems that stress is building up. And I really like what you just said that, yeah, maybe there's some sort of genetic tie, but hey, I have to assess where I am and I cannot blame it on and I cannot proclaim to be a victim. I have got to take action, and it's almost got to take a mental pause, a life pause, and just figure out where I am and what needs to be done. A lot said there, but can you add some detail behind that?
Yes, definitely. And so much that I really want to share on this topic. I'm really, as I mentioned to you in our pre-interview talk, I've done a lot of research on, neurology, and my physical therapy research was in that. And then my first physical therapy position was in brain injury. And I moved into sports orthopedics. And more recently, I've become really excited, reinvigorated with neuroscience. And I mentioned that I applied to Elon Musk's company, Neuralink, and I'm reading all the neuroscientists' work and all the consultants. I'm reading Jason Drees right now, who's like a brain scientist, a coach who's really focused on mindset. And even just over the weekend, I saw in a local magazine 2 physicians who have just written a book that I can't wait to read. And it's about happiness. And it sounds like, and it's very, like in medical terms, evidence-based. All the research is there. And one of my mentors and friends, she worked at an organization called Contact, and she was taking phone calls from people that were having big problems. And many times it was depression and possible suicide. And she let me know from her knowledge and training from being in this type of role that often helping others is one of the most successful ways to help yourself. And it sounds like, just from a snapshot of these physicians who wrote this book, that's absolutely true, that the research supports helping others and sharing your gifts with people and being generous with other people is one of the best ways that you can improve your own happiness. And for all the entrepreneurial listeners, imposter syndrome and lack of fulfillment is a big problem, right? Because high achievement does not equal fulfillment. And I just read a book by a psychologist called Benjamin Hardy called The Gap and the Gain. The concept is very simple. For people, we tend to set targets, especially entrepreneurs, and we're very focused on where we are now to the target and the gap between that. However, if we look back, if we look in reverse from where we started to now, we focus on the gain, we can have happiness now. We can appreciate all that progress. And, happiness is up to us. So there's just a couple quick thoughts on that topic, that the research is really growing and mounting, and just some quick strategies to think about.
I want to encourage you to take a mental pause. Research shows and practice validates the fact that whatever it is you want, be willing to give it. You want happiness, be willing to give that to someone else. You want fulfillment, be a friend to someone else. You want a great relationship, you want a connected, meaningful relationship, be willing to give that to others. You may be thinking with these statements, it's difficult to give what I don't have, and I would agree with you. It is difficult, maybe even impossible, to give what you don't have. I want to encourage you to take the action you need to keep your, quote, tank filled. The tank meaning your happiness, your fulfillment, your great relationships, whatever it is you want. Do whatever you have to do to read, develop friendships, whatever it is to have available to be able to give to others. When you give to others that which you have, you receive in turn what it is you want. I appreciate everything you said. A lot of what you said resonates. And just literally today, I read about happiness and fulfillment. Happy, I can be happy today and not as happy tomorrow, but can I be fulfilled all the way through to be maybe more level, steady with that? Fulfilled has a lot to do with who I am, about me, my personality, what brings fulfillment, just like Marty it does. And we've been married 54 years. I've known her she's been my girlfriend for 56 years. Totally fulfilled with that. And this is not about me, Lance.
Congratulations.
Well, no, thank you. And it's not about me, but I just want to, or us, I want to just use that as an example that what it is to be fulfilled, is life worth living, and so forth. And there are a lot of times we just have to work through stuff to be able to see what the future is and so forth. I resonate with a lot of what you just said, and there are people who seem not to be able to work through the various aspects of life to find that total fulfillment.
Yeah, definitely. I guess what I would say to that is I feel like you sort of hear this talked about, and I agree with this point, that people really need to figure out their why, their cause, their purpose, their mission, whatever word you want to use. And I hear a lot of expert opinion, and I do agree with this. It kind of validated my book process. And even I've got a life and business planning process called the Jolt, which I love to help entrepreneurs with very first, because I can't help anyone in their day-to-day fires unless I really know the whole picture and what makes their heart sing. And step one in both of those processes is them really doing this introspective work that I spoke about and figuring out, what it is that is most important to them. And because you can have massive achievement, but however, if it's not clear and you're not reminding yourself every day what success is for you and what's most important for you, what your priorities are, it's easy to lose sight of that.
That's good. Success can be a very personalized definition, whatever it is. And success today is not going to be necessarily success 5 years from today. There's some of us who may feel unfulfilled. People just need to deal with. And I like what you said, process. Marty and I really resonate with the word journey. Process means it's our one aspect of that is it never ends. You're continuing the process. And I just sense that if we have the right mindset, the right attitude about process and journey, we never reach a destination per se. We set goals, but once we're approaching that goal, if we set another goal, then we just keep on a journey. As we are living that fulfilled life for us, that is what a lot of this is for us. I mean, just it's life satisfaction. It's worth getting up in the morning kind of thing. I don't want to suppose, Doctor, that I've been through the type training you have, but I'm just giving you a layperson's view of what it is for us.
Yeah, well, I think you are onto it. I love what you're saying as far as trying to align yourself with the journey, right? And this is important because, especially leaders and entrepreneurs, we're very, target focused, and again, having this backwards looking approach on our progress and, being happy along the way is a different mindset. Happiness isn't going to come when we accomplish X or Y or Z. We need to have this mindset every day. And I guess to share a tool that, again, the same mentor, my mentor, Marilyn, taught me, she used the word shifting your mood. And really what I hear all the current, she was trained in this 30, 40 years ago, and Jason Dries and all the, some of the current biggest leaders, a lot of them are calling this shifting your mindset, but it's really the same. And I was fortunate to be mentored in this. So every day, and kind of in my words, you have to get your mind right. So our brain is, the central processing unit. It's the primary tool. And we need to put in some, just like with our physical health, right? When you guys mentioned the mental and physical connection, I think people clearly see and understand how we need to do a certain amount of exercise per week or per day. We need to actually train our brains and work out our brains every day to achieve this, probably a positive mindset and get ourselves at a healthy mental place as well, because it's easy. I know for me, it's kind of worse in the morning, right? And I'm reading Matt Walker, who's a neuroscientist, who's an expert on sleep. The way the brain works, and especially with sleep, it's fascinating. And for me, I just know in the morning time, if I don't really train my brain and put in some time, whether it be through meditation, breathing, mindset work, affirmations, visualization, whatever resonates with people. There's no one right way to do it, in my opinion, but you do have to put in some time to training your brain every day.
I think you're on to something that can be a subject of additional episodes. I look at it as almost from a very elementary position that the more positive people I am around, the more positive information I read, the more positive information to which I hear, watch, and so forth, the greater the likelihood I am to be positive, that which I choose to enter the brain and affect who I am. Have I oversimplified that?
No, I think that's pretty spot on and accurate. So I think you're saying that, yeah, it's really taking in all this positive information is going to help you output positive information. Yeah, I think that's true. I think there's like a lens and a framework. It might be slightly more complex than that we have to really make sure we've got the right lens and framework in place as well. Like just taking in positive information might not have someone really consistently yield positive, but I think you've got 90% of it probably right there.
I do agree with what you're saying, that I'm not suggesting at all that being surrounded by positive alone can do it. But if that can help affect the mindset, no matter what I'm encountering, the attitude is, the mindset is, somehow, some way, I'll make it through this. It's all going to be good. The best is yet to come. Marty, what are you thinking?
I wanted to say thank you for mentioning the fact that when you're depressed, that has to be a very hard time for some people. They really get down. And just move. Get up and move. And telling our audience that if they exercise or if they have a mind shift, they will come out of this depression and helping others. So I thank you for telling us the steps to take to help through depression.
Absolutely. And there's a whole interplay, and it seems like there's a lot of debate right now, whether it's thoughts are the first thing or it's actions. There's experts on both sides of it, the neuroscientists and the doctors. And, even one of the best answers, a friend of mine wrote a book on imposter syndrome, Chris Kelso, and his answer is that it's got to be customized. Like it's actually like a feedback loop. Sometimes it's more thoughts and sometimes it's more actions, and there's an interplay. So yes, you kind of have to, there's a book I just read by Mick Ebeling, and his book is called Not Impossible and Not Impossible Labs. And he's done incredible things. When he read a whole bunch of like Think and Grow Rich, some of the best leadership books, in his words, what came to him is act like the person you want to be. So to me, his kind of take is just like step one is sort of the actions, but that's actually not true, because he's saying like the person you want to be. So again, there's this magic interplay between, I think, just like some strategic work and thoughts and your action.
And I agree with that. And in that context, Dr. Lance, for the person who resonates with everything with which we're speaking, I'm going to ask you for a call to action. There are various personalities. Mine is the type personality. Let's think it through. Think about the actions we want to take and then take the action. But what is the call to action to the person who may feel in some form or fashion, I'm stuck, I just cannot keep doing what I'm doing? What is the call to action to that person that can help them change their mindset?
Yeah. Wow. You've really given me a challenging question. I think that what I'd recommend as step one is doing some introspective work, as I touched on earlier, and really deciding what's most important to you as step one. And then I would recommend deciding what resonates most with you to try to accomplish besides deciding what's most important to you, whether that be your health or your family or your religion, all those things. And then I've got a process called the Jolt. And again, I originally kind of called it a business planning process. And I've really now evolved it to a life and business planning process. So it moves into someone's, their mission for their business after their personal mission. And then it moves into their vision, right? What does success look like for them? So I do think people need to kind of spend some time with their thoughts and deciding, in Stephen Covey's words, like what the end looks like, right? So you can, reverse into that. And then I do think you need to back this down to what Mick Ebeling said and take those actions then on a daily basis, so you can act like the person you want to be. Once you've decided what you want to be and what's most important to you and what your life to look like, then I think you need to go ahead and take actions and break them into very small steps, whether it be 5 minutes of exercise or 5 minutes of meditation or, 1 minute of deep breathing. When things are difficult, if you break it down into small increments, you will be much more likely to have success.
Dr. Lance, well said. And yes, don't try to do something that's too large and quit right away. But we're an advocate of let's devise small wins up front, and those small wins become larger wins. And that's a part of the journey, the process. We will overcome anything in life. Dr. Lance, on behalf of our listeners, I want to thank you for your insights, and we look forward to more insights from you as we have some additional episodes. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Looking forward to talking to you guys in the future.
Great. I want to encourage you to think about the totality of fitness. Fitness frequently is thought of in terms of physical fitness, going to the gym. That is certainly a very important part of our healthy life, to take care of the body, the blood pressure, everything about the physical fitness part. One of the things that is lesser known, personally, I believe to be lesser exercised, is fitness of the brain. What I mean by that is I'm not a neuroscientist, anything of that nature, but I am a person who knows what you think frequently determines what you will do. I understand there are arguments on both sides, thoughts versus actions. The person who continuously thinks negative, the one who continuously thinks the worst is yet to come, those kinds of things, my life experience tells me, we can, at times, think things into existence. We need to train the brain. Dr. Lance is very articulate about training the brain, and I do believe the more positive we read, the more positive these folks with whom we associate, the greater the propensity we will have to have positive thoughts. Again, I'm not an advocate that positive thinking alone is going to take you through life and do everything you want. It has to be more than just thinking. Those thoughts have to become action. But as Dr. Lance was talking about, it is a matter of having a positive mindset, and that may be a matter of meditating, whatever it is your practice is, to take an introspective look to assess who we are, what we're about. As Stephen Covey says, as we look toward what it is we want as an end objective, what is it we want to be at some period of time, and it's a matter of taking the action to make those things happen. Depression. It is a topic that too many people seem to deal with. They're not able to get through whatever depressed mood, depressed anger they may have. There's sometimes people are just down. I mean, they're in a deep, heavy funk, it's sometimes called. But I do believe that when we are with positive people, I'm assuming now it's not a clinical depression, but rather it's an attitudinal type of depression. The more positive people we are around, the greater the likelihood we will be able to think positive. And that is the practice that I take, is that I frequently will become what it is I set my mind to do. And that is, if I choose to be positive, this is a matter of taking an introspective look, but as I choose to be positive, I choose to act positive. And I think it is a matter of those type attributes. Jim Rome said, we are the average of the 5 people with whom we are most closely associated. I do think it's appropriate to evaluate the friendships we have. Are they ones who want to build us, help us to become what God has designed us and created us to be? as we are introspective and we're able to determine those things that are most important. Another way of saying it, what is our why that we get up every morning and do what we do? What it is we choose to do, the actions we choose to take as we design, let's just say, some small chunks of action to where we can incorporate some small wins. We get momentum from that, and the more wins we have, the greater the momentum we can build to achieve and get on with life, to overcome the many things that are maybe holding us back. I want to do everything I can to encourage you to take that introspective look, to be the person you want to be, to do whatever is necessary to take a very positive action. We hope we can warrant a 5-star rating with this podcast series. We hope you will want to engage and comment in the comments section. Let us know what has worked for you, what has been possibly a little bit less effective. The more we engage with each other, the greater the likelihood we will be a very positive influence and benefit to others. We hope you will want to share this podcast with your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, your Twitter and Instagram communities. The more we share, the greater the benefit will be to others. Our heart desire is that we be the source of a very positive influence with others, that we can advance people beyond whatever it is they are doing to become the very greatest potential God has created us to be. We look forward to working with you.